So we're in the Sifra de Tzniuta. We read number Yud Daled, and we're reading after number Yud Daled. It says, "Mavura b'ketzad yotzim hashisha kitzvos hayedecha yisod de Erich Anpin." How is that working out? Ba'amar ki dechidecha na'asacha b'zivuk b'mala b'cheich b'garan b'pad de Erich Anpin. So let's go way back up there. There's a yichud that takes place, which we're familiar with the idea, that takes place in the palate and the goran between male and female aspects there of Erich Anpin. Now we have a number tes vav on that. So he said, "Kihinde yitzias vav kitzvos b'yisod Erich Anpin." The going out of the 7 kitzvos come from the yisod of Erich Anpin. So that source of that is an Eitz Chaim. Shu b'sod vav. This is the secret of the letter vav hayotze mishofar, that comes from what? From the concept of the shofar. What shofar has a vav in it. I'm not a shofar elyon. So he says it's a concept called the shofar elyon, which sounds like that's the yisod of Erich Anpin. B'zel Shona, so this is what he's saying over there. V'chebegam tavin ki yisod Erich Anpin, zehu sod ha-shofar. This is the secret of the shofar. The shofar what? V'omer Bezoar also says in Parshas Amor, he says the shofar is zecha apik kol. It brings out a kol, a voice. And actually, the kol is the number 130 plus a vav. I don't know if that means something. V'hu eish u'mayim ruach, and it's fire. Is fire, water, and it has within it, I guess, the shofar has coming out of it. In the midst of the sound is fire, water, and air. V'hu inyan zivuk Erich Anpin l'hotzia zer Anpin, and this is the yichud that takes place, that the shofar, he's saying this is the shofar, a mixture, let me just say again, it says a mixture of fire, air, and water. It doesn't say earth, it just said fire, air, and water, because we understand that's the breath, the concept of breath. V'hu inyan zivug Erich Anpin l'hotzi zer Anpin. Gimel kolil b'gimel, so that is zer Anpin is folded up, I guess, 3. Chesed, din, v'rachamim are these are the 3. So it's 3 that all contain this chesed, din, and rachamim through 3 lines. Eish, mayim, ruach. So let's just say eish would be din, mayim would be chesed, and ruach, I guess, would be the middle line, which is rachamim. V'hu sod vav ze'ira. This is the concept of the small vav. The small vav, and he says a small vav, called the nafik mishofar, and it is in fact the voice or the sound that comes out of the shofar ad kan. So here we have the concept of a vav coming out of the shofar. So that whole idea is in the Mabn Sharim in some detail. So he said, "V'hinech v'rei b'yofashah." Now the yofashah al Eitz Chaim over that said the Oz base. He said, "Shabir b'zeh she'ein hakavana v'etzim." The etzim vav kitzvos the zer Anpin. Now we're not really talking about the actual vav kitzvos of zer Anpin. Let me say shayatza mi yisod de Erich Anpin. I'm saying that shaharech vav kitzvos zer Anpin, the malach shemesu, which really came originally from the malach and the mesu, all the abba ve'ima has to wind up in abba ve'ima. So in other words, as the rapach comes up, they wind up being digested, or what's the right word, into Abba V'ima and processed into Abba V'ima. So he says that's over there in the Eitz Chaim and Shar Yud Zayin. She'omdi be'emsa be'bein nai de Erich Anpin, be'bein penimius Abba V'ima ein shom. Now what is it that it stands? She'omed, or she'omdim, they stand, in between the nai de Erich Anpin. Let's say the nai of Erich Anpin is lower L, bebein pnimius abba v'ima ein sham. So in between, I guess what's the word? She'omdi be'emsa, between the nai, the Erich Anpin, and the pnimius of abba v'ima ein sham. I'd have to see that. B'im came enam yotze mi yisod Erich Anpin, so therefore they're not actually coming out of the yisod of Erich Anpin. Don't think that. Elakavana al tipas zivug dechech v'gorim. So really, we're not talking about the letter Vav or the Vav kitzvos themselves. We're talking about the origin here of the tipa. That tipa is generated in Erich Anpin himself between a yichud that takes place between his palate and his throat. The palate is the place of the chokhmah of Erich Anpin in the head, and the throat is the place of the bina. The Erich Anpin, shemisakein as vok the zer Anpin. So this tipa that is generated there, that is what actually builds the vok of zer Anpin. This is what the Yaf Shah says over there. The Masha Rabbeinu Zal, Shehu Besod called the Nafek Mishofer, that particular phrase, who al osa tipa, that call that he's talking about, is the tall call which is going to generate the Vav Kitzvahs. But at this point, it's a tipa. Who al osa tipa hakadusha, shenimshka ayedech bezivuk chig v'tarim derek anpin, that it comes, that's where the tipa comes from. Besod mab. Now, this is a phrase that I have not heard before exactly. It's a secret of mab zivugim, of 42 different kinds of yichudim. Kasher kuvar ha'arich Rabbeinu Zal, so Rabbeinu Zal talked about this. Apparently, now I know the word 42, the concept of 42, but I never heard it like as calls about 42 zivugim. Masher kuvar v'nimshka ad yisod the Erich Anpin, and these zivugim reach into the yisod of Erich Anpin, kamosh kasav Rabbeinu Zal le'el. So he ikur tikun amochen dezer Anpin, and this is the place. Whatever this mob, I'm stuck on that. The mob zivugim. This is the place of the tikkun of the mochin dezer Anpin. V'hi hayotze migo shofar. This is what comes out of the shofar. Migo hayisod the Erich Anpin, which is he's saying that this is the same thing as the yisod of Erich Anpin, mamish ad kan. So we have this concept introduced here of the mab zivugim, which I still have to think about, but that it generates in some way this tipa, which is somehow going together with the chek and the goren, all the people. These are little pieces here of the idea. Ad kan. So we have this in Nar Sham La Roshash, he says, and Shambarichos, he said, V'rei gam be'etz chaim, also in the Echan B'shar Tes Zayin. This is what it says over there. V'harech nizbar zivug elyon shall peh the Erich Anpin. There is a yichud that takes place in the mouth of Erich Anpin. Lohotzi tipa zun. It brings out the tipa, which will bring us into zun. Kolula memab zivugim, and that tipa has within it mab zivugim. Now, what's hard for me to hear this? I mean, it's just a statement. It's mab zivugim. We know that mab really refers to an or choser. I believe that's what it is. As you see the different mobs that you have in Yetzira and Asiya. Asiya, Yetzira, and Bria. You have three different mobs there. All of them are designed to bring up the different aspects of the Nitzutzos or of the Rapach. So I don't see how this goes here. He says the mob zibugim. Okay, I hear it. Or could it be that he's using mob not in that sense, but in the sense of the pashat, the mali, and the mali, the mali? Maybe he means that. But at any rate, there's a concept here. And from these, then there's extension after that into the yesod of Erich Anpin ad kan bre'od b'ha'ara l'cholon. So I'd like to see that as we go on to it further, and we'll see, what's going on over there. So let's go on now we're going from Tes Vav. So Tes Vav, it says, we're talking about the yesod, the chek, the yichud that takes place in the chek and the garon of Erich Anpin. K'dei l'horid koach, in order to bring energy, a koach hatipa of this tipa shall shisha kitzvos dezer Anpin. So that's basically what we kind of heard that. Let's hear what he says in number Tes Zayin down below. So number Tes Zayin says Reba Eitz Chaim. Look over the Eitz Chaim, and you'll see over there in Shar Tes Zayin. I'm watching this Tes Zayin, these Sharim, because I've seen some of these things before, but I was not really in great depth. So let's see what it's saying. And I just want to know where it is in case I want to go back to the Eitz Chaim. He said, Be'iva Rishon, Hoyezer Anpin Besod Gimel Kolina Begilim, Gimel, he was folded up. Now we did have different versions of what that fold, and the Tivuk of Anos has the fold with the Chagat on the outside. Normally we learn, like I said then, we had to learn that the Nai is on the inside. But here we go. Anyway, that's Kil Kabilim Bekalim, Begimel. Okay, we got a little break here. So he says, V'amnam, Iver zeh koya al yedera benai the Erich Anpin, the Iver that takes place, in other words, this gestation of this tipa, takes place as a result of the lower part of Erich Anpin, shenis alo l'malo toch chagat shalo, that goes up above, and it winds up inside of the chagat. Here it is again. He says that the nai, the Erich Anpin, goes up above, into the chagat of Erich Anpin. V'sham, and there's a yisod atmo, so there, in the yisod itself, that is part of the nai, right? That's the yisod of the nai. Yisod atmo de Erich Anpin, hu shenizdaveg im hatara shabo. So this is where the yichud takes place. And I have to read this again with the atara. That's which is the tip of the yisod. One more time. Amnam iver zeh. So that's the original gestation. De Erich Anpin, it came as a result of a fold that takes place with the nayan of Erich Anpin goes into or enters into the toch of the chagat de Erich Anpin. So that's the lower element coming into the upper element. V'sham b'yisod atzmo de Erich Anpin, and then there, in that part of the nai of the yisod of Erich Anpin, hushin is davig im b'chatara shabo. It has a yichud b'nei ubei. So the yisod part inside of the chagat, which is the nai, is inside of the chagat. The yisod of the nai is having a yichud b'nei ubei. Mishom yisod the Erich Anpin, from that place, the yisod of Erich Anpin yotze zer anpin. That's where zer anpin comes from. Now, what's this have to do with the chek and the gorun? So we say that the yichud is taking place minei ubei in Erich Anpin. So we already know what the rabbi says. Hechi dami la'alter kol zaman sharok b'tzad matzui b'peh. I looked up that word alter, but I forgot it, what it means. What does alter mean? Hechi dami la'alter.
Immediate.
Yes, okay. It does mean immediate. Okay. Hechi dami la'alter, the immediate calls the man sharok matzui b'peh. Now, this is a real heavy metaphor. As long as there's a spittle or saliva in the mouth. Now, what's that with? V'hu nishikin hakodmin l'zivug. Now, the phrase, I don't know what to do with the concept of the rok in the mouth. I'm not sure what that means. So, who nishiki, but he says it's talking about the original nishiki that would come before yichud. Ki hein bechinas zivug elyon b'peh atzmo. So now he's, I guess, trying to put this together. In the mouth is where everything, he calls it the bechinas zivug elyon, the upper zivug that takes place in the mouth. The chila, so they says, therefore, to begin with, choya zivug elyon deped de Erich Anpin, you had that yichud that took place in the mouth of Erich Anpin, the horid koyach hatipahi. So what is it bringing it down? It's bringing out the energy that will develop this tipa. I think that's what I threw in the word develop. I think that's what he means, a tipa. Kalula membes zivugim. Again, here we have this concept of membes zivugim. He says in this tipa, let's just read the whole phrase again. He says, Hoya zivug elyon depad de Erich Anpin. It brings out the energy of the tipa. So I guess he means the potential, the koach, the potential energy, or the possible energy, just the energy. Kalula b'mebes zivugim. So that tipa has these 42 zivugim adkan on Sham. So maybe Mabu Sharim. Okay, we still have some more time. So let's go on a little bit more. So that was interesting words, but we don't know what I don't know what to do with the membet zivugim, the concept. Here it sounds like he's saying you have two yichudim that take place. One is the yichud between the chek and the goron. That's the yichud elyon, and there's another one between the yisod and the ataras yisod, which would be what we normally think about yichud there. So what else are we missing? We're missing that how does this, he has this other thing that was thrown in here, which is that the nai of Erich Anpin folds into the chagad of Erich Anpin, and that's what causes the yichud to take place between Minei Ubei and the yisod of Erich Anpin. That seemed to be what he was saying. So let's read after number Tes Zayin. He said, "V'chazivug hazeh na'asa ayedech yisod elyon shehu lashon Erich Anpin." So the yichud is actually, there's a medium in the, or a means, I'm not sure the right word. Ayedech yisod elyon shehu lashon Erich Anpin. What's the upper yisod? So if you have, it's going to be the tongue of Erich Anpin. Hanikra lishan mamalo ravavan. So now we get a definition. It says the concept of the tongue that speaks great things. Lashon medeberes. So it's the speaking tongue. So he's speaking as lashon yichud. Medeberes gedolos. It speaks great things. V'hainu hu ki halashon mezaveg es hachech v'goren. Now, let me just say this. The chech of the goren, I said, and I think we've seen other ways, is the chech refers to the chochma aspect, and the goren refers to the bina aspect. Now he says that the lashon is the yisod, which I would have thought it was das. So anyway, he said, but the gdol v'inyan hu ki halashon bezaveg es hachech v'agoren v'mamshek tikvas hachasadim min hachech v'tibas hagavuros min agaron. That's what it does. This is what this does. It brings out. So he called it yisod though. Let's see what number Yud Zion says. So Yud Zion has a little richos also. He says this is explained in the Divrei Harizal. Bekama bekomos besod lishem b'mala ravavin. Rei be'etz chaim. So we'll keep going on. This is Perek Daled. Okay, excuse me. Bezel l'shon of adilog. Zivug elyon shebeper de Erich Anpin. So the upper yichud that has to take place in the mouth of Erich Anpin. Ketzad. How's this go? Here he is. Bina shebegaron. The bina is in the garam ma'alam mayim nukvin. It brings up mayim nukvin. Now this sounds more like the 42 zivugim, but I'm not sure. It brings up mayim nukvin min ha'hei gevuros shalah. So bina has within her 5 gevuros. So we're talking about the bina of the rosh of Erich Anpin. So he says that mayim nukvin min ha'hei gevuros shalah. V'heim osius achoa. They're the different levels of sounds that are produced by the throat. You saw there. Okay. So he says ma'ala mayim nukvin min gevuros shalah, from her gevuros v'heim osius achoa. Now achoa is only 4 letters, etc. He says there must be a little bit more to that. V'hachech shehu ha'chochma who morid mayim dechurim, hey chasadim. So osios gichak, which is also only 4 letters. Midizdavgu yachad ayedech bedas, and as a result of the das, now we use the word das here. So he says the yichud takes place ayedei das hamachriya, which really balances the two, or becomes a funnel for them. Shu halashon shebenehim, which is the tongue. So I don't know, did I make the mistake and put the word yisod in there earlier? But this is the das. Allah shebenechem. They're both in the same, the middle line. So bris halashon. This is the secret of the bris of the tongue. Besod zechad nirmaz beidrizuta. We have that over, and he gives a place. Isha umayim mesaknim. So here is his words. So he says, Ukuvar yudato, you already know. Ki eshu mayim, okay, these two opposites, fire and water, Are they're incompatible kind of things. Heim Sod Chasadim Begevuros. Adkan. V'chein Rei Be'etz Chaim, also look over there. I'm not sure what I got there, what that was over there, but let's keep going on. V'zecha b'loshona b'dilog, he says, Shechachachma atzma hu hech. V'chagoran hi habina. V'loshon hu amachriya bein taim. V'hu adas shebein chachma d'bina. Shehu bris haloshon. So this, he quotes it. Kenizker b'sefer Yetzirah, that's in the Sefer Yubah. V'hu dugmas bris ha'maor. Shehu ha'yisod amizav zavim b'zivug tachton. And this is really similar to the bris ha'maor. I'm not sure what that means, ha'maor. Does it mean like the awakening bris? Shehu yisod, which is the yisod. Hamizdaveg b'zivug tachton, which makes the yichud on the bottom. V'haloshen hu ha'yisod. In that case, the loshen is the yisod. Hamazaveg zivug elyon, which is the same thing, which getting me off here. Let me read again. V'hu dugmas abris ha'maor, shehu ha'yisod, hamizdaveg b'zivug tachton. Okay, that's okay. So then that makes the yichud tachton. V'haloshen, but the tongue, which is also in the middle line, hu ha'yisod hamizaveg zivug elyon. So he said this is the yisod that makes a yichud up above. Just say, what does he mean here? That the yisod rises up to the level of what? I'm not sure what he means over here. So you either use the yisod for being between netzach and hod, and that yisod, which is down below and has a yichud minei ubei, talking about that, or you're talking about das, which is up in the top, but he uses the word yisod anyway. So he says the hech is a koech hasiyum dechochma. It is the power, the energy of the end of Chochmah. V'goren koach hasima debia. So this is also the bottom of Bina. Shehu nekudas tzion sheba, which is her yisod, which is her nekudas tzion is the yisod of Bina. V'haloshen. What about the loshen? Hu yisod shel hachech hamamshech hechasadim. So here he's trying to straighten it out for me. He says the reason why he uses the word lashon here, which should be das, he says, is really the yesod shalachech, because what we're talking about here is the end of the line. In other words, I think you would say that the chech is the malchus of chochma. It's chochma, but it's the malchus part of chochma. Maybe you say that, and in the garon is the malchus of the of bina. So it says it's the end of it. So I'm trying to understand this. Then we go back where it says, "V'chachech koach hasiyim." The chech is the koach hasiyim the chochma. The goren the koach hasiyim the bina. So I'm assuming siyim means malchus. Shehu nekudas tzion sheba. So that's the yisod of malchus. V'haloshen hu yisod shel hachech. So the loshen is what? It's actually here in this metaphor. It's the yisod. That's the sphere above malchus, so that makes attachment to malchus. Shel hachech. Hamamshech hechasadim, which is actually the place where the hechasadim come out from, which is gichak. Once again, the he gevuros achor. So the 5 gevuros, which are the sounds achor, they also brings that v'oz hu sham besod mayim dechurim, and there you see that it's in the yisod of mayim dechurim hayordim mechech alagorin, that come to the chech of the gorin. Now I know we have little time, but this is got a little complicated here, so I just want to try it again. He says the tongue is the yisod. So we're talking about the malchus. This is the way I understand it, trying to understand it. The malchios of the chech and the gorim are going to make a yichud with the tongue, which is by the raise of the tongue, which actually the tongue represents the yisod of the chech and the gorim, shel achech, hamamshek chech hasadim, and which is gichak. And also it's the yisod of here, the gevuros, which is achor. V'az hu shem asham besod mayim dechurim. So over there, when you're talking about the yisod part, the yisod represents mayim dechurim. That's where everything comes out. Hayored mechech elagorin, which comes out of the chech and go into the gorin, the besach of the mayim nukvin, and also the opposite way, ha'olim minagorim el chech, which go up to the gorin to the chech. So it is this yisod part of them somehow are the yisod that makes this all possible. V'hu sod harok. Now this is the secret of that phrase he used before. Harok Hayotze mechem mechecha the goren. This is the spittle, the saliva that comes out from the chek of the goren. Now, this is metaphors that need to be developed. V'zehu sod hanirmaz be'idrazuta. So this is the secret we have over there. V'kulim machakon, I guess da b'da belishan mamali ravavin. Now, machakan is what this word chake, that they strike each other. Da b'da belishan mamali ravavin. With this tongue, by the tongue that is speaking these great things, which refers to Erich Anpin, ki hu halasha namizadgam. Yeah. Okay, we just got a few more words, but they're toughies. So we had this concept. He said, "Uvesod mayim nukvin ha'olim min hagorim elachech." So this mayim nukvin is the sod of the rok hayotze mechem that comes out mechech v'gorim that comes out of. This sounds like the lashon tipa. It's like he says it's the rok. So what? But it's a hard word. V'zechu sod hanirmez be'idrazuta. He said v'kulam machakon zechad b'zeh. They strike each other. Belishan mamale ravavim with or through, I don't know, in or lishon mamale ravavim from that tongue, which is the yesod, he said. Kihu halashan namizavgam, because that's the tongue that actually they're striking each other through the agency of the tongue. They're making contact. V'chein kulam machakon. So therefore, they're all being struck on it. So hu ha'ikr, because this middle line, this yesod, is really the main thing. And from it comes out life. Well, that is a deep look, and not necessarily a lot of new ideas that we're not familiar with, a lot of new metaphors. This is Baruch Fleischman.